chairman of this piece
Is Manziel supposed to be here?
And who's gonna try and make it back?
He's gonna do what?
Who's gonna try and make it back?
Make it back where?
Make it here for the meeting.
Yeah.
But you have three.
Huh?
You have three, you have four.
I understand that, but he's got,
But this is the first reading too, isn't it?
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
So we
so
have
you
to
know,
give it to
you don't
him.
have to deal with good evening, everyone. I'm glad to see so many out in the cold, and my two supporters, as usual, for the council. And as usual, Mr. O'Mays, who is a faithful resident, consistent. The City of East Cleveland regular council meeting is now in session, Tuesday, February 17, 2015, 6:30, place East Cleveland City Hall, council chambers. Madam Clerk, would you call?
Counselor King, Counselor Baker, Counselor Martin,
Present.
Counselor Wheeler, Counselor Thomas. You have a quorum.
Here. Did we hear from Counselor King?
No, I didn't receive an email back on Friday, like I normally do.
Okay, so we're gonna assume he'll be around. I don't like assumptions,
No,
but
he won't be here.
he won't be here?
No,
You talked to him?
he's uptown.
Oh, okay. Well,
You
the
know,
vice
town
president.
since the last hour or so, though?
I thought he was uptown.
No, I saw him early today.
So,
Okay, so we don't know.
All right.
I mean, he said we missed yesterday. Who knows? I'm here.
You didn't hear from him.
No, I didn't hear from him. Usually he sends me an
So
email
he's
back.
not available. Remarks of the public on agenda items only. I'd be disappointed if I didn't hear from
I hope I don't disappoint you tonight.
you. All right.
Okay, then, in reference to 7:15, this, I have to get accustomed to this agenda. It is my understanding that they're applying for a use permit to operate, I guess, a center. And I have some trepidation in reference to this piece of legislation. And the council has not done its due diligence, nor has administration. Number one, in the district, this is a U1 and a U2 district, which is a residential resident. And the council has the authority to object or to amend or whatever. And there has not been a public hearing, which is required by this council. I spoke to the chairman of this committee. The ordinance says anytime that you are amending or zoning or what have you, there must be a public hearing held by this council. That's in the charter, and I would implore you to read it and follow the charter, because if you do not, and if you pass this without a public hearing, and the public, and notifying the public, and to amend the zoning, there must be a hearing by this council. This council has the authority, according to this charter, it says here, the council of the city of East Cleveland shall, by ordinance, provide for the districting of zoning of the city of East Cleveland, or promote the public health, safety, and convenience, and go on further. I don't want to waste all my time on that one. Also, the council has the authority. The council of the city of East Cleveland shall have the power to approve, amend, modify, or reverse any decision of the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'll stop there with that one. The council, charter again, the council of the city of East Cleveland may from time to time amend, repeal, or adopt any or all of the provision of the District of Zoning Ordinance. But hearing there are shall be given. They shall hold public hearings before you can do any of this. And they were listening, some of the council was listening to an employee and taking direction from them, opposed to following this is the Bible, the charter. And you cannot amend that. You cannot eradicate that. It's only done by the public, the electors of the city of Cleveland, the city of East Cleveland. So to this council tonight, if you want the people to have it, do it the right way. And if you don't do it the right way, then I'm going to take further action. I'm going to tell you that right now, because that's what the charter demands of you. That the legislation must be prepared. You must have all of the drawings, etc., from the BZA, the zoning board. You don't have anything, and you have not had a hearing. So I'll yield the floor.
Thank you, Mr. O'May. Well spoken. Is there any other residents that wish to speak on agenda items only? Hearing none, minutes to be approved. Hearings conduct and scheduling. Reports and announcements from the mayor. Is there anything, any reports, announcement from the mayor?
Not at this time.
Okay. Is there any old business? Any new business? Confirmation of appointments. Madam Director of Law Director
Yes.
/ prosecutor. What is the status on the law director that took place a week ago and was
The assistant law director
yeah.
is going to give her 2-week notice. I've been notified by the administration that her appointment is contingent upon the approval of our certification by the fiscal supervisors, and once that is cleared, then she will join us as assistant law director.
Okay. Also, since we have, I wasn't at the last agenda review because of medical reasons, but and there, as was brought up by one of our residents here, can you speak to the information that our resident, Mr. O'Mays, has presented here, based on the fact that I do read the charter and I know what's in the charter, but since you are our law director and all this information is coming forth, even though it is the first reading, could you elaborate on what is taking place with this residential and rezoning and so forth and so on?
Certainly. I spoke to our building official, Mr. Anthony Gonzalez, and he had 2 meetings. The BZA, the Board of Zoning Appeals, which is constituted by the appropriate number of members and headed by Mr. Gonzalez, had the Salvation Army before them to, in order to appeal the zoning. They are going to do something other than residential at the center. There is going to be a place of worship, it's going to be a place of recreation, it's going to be a place of education and meetings and other charitable purposes. And of course, that is at odds with what it is zoned for. Therefore, the Board of Zoning Appeals was constituted and had hearings upon their appeal, their application for a variance. So that application for a variance was reviewed by the members of the Board of Zoning Appeals. That's why We have a Board of Zoning Appeals so that when something is planned that is at variance with the current zoning of that particular geographic area of our subdivision, then it is reviewed, architectural plans, as well as other substantive programming was presented to them, and the Board of Zoning Appeals granted a variance, which means that what will be going on will not be either in the U1 or U2 district as currently zoned. It will be different. It will be a variance, and that was what was approved. And we have the minutes of that, and everything is in order, and we have my support for the Salvation Army's conditional use permit. It's a use permit that is conditional upon review by the Board of Zoning Appeals, and that Board of Zoning Appeals approved those uses.
And council has the ultimate authority. They just only make the recommendation. They can't approve anything. They have to approve the legislation.
Mr. O'May.
And it's right here.
Mr. O'May, you had the floor. Please, you have told us what you're going to do if things don't go your way.
No, it's not my way. The charter.
Mr. O'May, you said if we do something other, you told us what you were going to do. Now, we've heard it, and I think that's sufficient. Madam Director, Law Director, so your recommendation to this council is to accept the Board of Zoning Appeals, even though the charter says one thing else.
No, the charter, this is quite in sync with what the charter says, because the charter also gives the ability of the Board of Zoning Appeals to exempt a particular entity or program from what is the current zoning requirements, and that is what has happened. So it's very consistent with the charter, because that's why exists a Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay, this being that this is on the first reading, Madam Director, I will be looking forward to a written opinion from you to this board, so that on the next reading, we will have all this flushed out.
Oh,
and there will be no
ambiguity.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that word. All right. Receipts and communications and petitions,
None at this time.
reports of council committees. I'm calling on my learned colleagues from the personnel and appointments.
Yeah. Members of the public, my colleagues, I rise to speak. I need to say this, it's not so much related to personal appointments, but I think
It's got
it's
to be, if you're reporting,
Okay.
you have to be reporting on the personnel and appointments, okay?
well, it's kind of connected from the
Kinda.
standpoint, yeah, kind of.
I'll give you a little leeway
I
on
get
that.
some leverage here.
I'll give you a little.
Okay, this, what you just talked about, this needs to be said. Government is about process and procedure. And O'May's is right to some point, but our law director shared this right to some point. The leverage that we have here is the fact that this is the first reading. So we got 2 weeks to get the thing straight. What needs to be said is that I and the council, I think I can speak for them, support Salvation Army and what they're doing. Anything we do here, we have to do it right. That's what process and procedure is all about. In terms of the personal appointments, we're losing a lot of people. The police department is losing numbers, the fire is losing some people, but police more importantly, and we're probably gonna have to have a test. And then we got the issue of paying people come in the city. So we're a city that's struggling and needs help. my committee has met probably more, it meets a whole lot to try to stay with what's going on. I feel good about that. I also want to say on a positive note, Barbara Thomas Wheeler, Hemmings, I saw 2 brand new trucks the other day, and the streets look so much better. So, on a positive note. But government is about us participating, it's about civic engagement, and Omaze has his point, Wheeler has his point, but we're going to get it done right. And we are bullish about Salvation Army. Thank you. All right?
Well, thank you. Next, I will call upon our Vice President, Councilor Thomas Wheeler.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm over health and safety. We had projected to have a meeting this past week, but due to illness, we didn't have a meeting. So for next month, we'll schedule another one. We'll have another one prior to the council meeting. Also, I was going to reiterate, I'm excited. I saw no problem going down the street. I can get out my driveway without any problems. That was great. So it does show that we can get things accomplished if we just work together with the administration and council. Because those trucks didn't just fall out the sky. It took some working as a unit, as one unit to move forward. So that's it.
Thank you very much. I guess that leaves the President of Council to give a report. My committee is the Finance Committee. And as you all know, I've been doggish about my finances. And I'm still waiting for a report as far as to the completion of the budget. Today, and you know I'm dogmatic with the auditors, so I bugged them on the phone and they returned my call. Today, I received a call from Anita, who is one of the financial managers for the auditor's office. And she says to me that she got my information, she got my call, and as of yet, they have not been able to put the budget in place. She's working with the finance director, Mr. Jack Johnson, who is our part-time finance director who works 2 days at in the city of East Cleveland, and he also works for the city of Seven Hills. At this point, the council had approved a temporary 2-month budget. So they have until the end of February to complete the budget. And as my colleague from the Personnel and Appointments was saying, Mr. O'Mays, okay, it is very rude to hold a side conversation while I'm giving a report. As my colleague was saying, that we need more policemen and we need more firemen. In the past couple of weeks, I had sat down with the law director, Ms. Hemmings, and we received presentations from the police and fire and recommendations from the police and fire of acquiring part-timers to fill in to be cost-effective on overtime. But since the budget was not completed, the numbers of how many would be allowed in that budget could not be completed. Therefore, that is a hold-up right there. And I too saw the 2 big white trucks rolling down. But unlike my vice president, I wasn't able to get out of my driveway because when they come down, they pushed all the snow in my driveway. So I had to have somebody dig me out again. But I'm very positive on that, and I want you to know that this council worked very hard to get those trucks done and the money released to get that done. So we did, that is one of those issues where we applied ourselves to press to get things done with those trucks because we need them, and you see how bad it is out there. Also, I want to recognize the court in his donation or cooperation. He took 2 of his employees and some of the employees that were independent contractors and put them under his special purpose grant. And I thought that was really good. The new replacement employee, Elmine, who we approved, the council approved by waiving it, is under the special fund of $33,076. A contract employee is currently paid from the court's probation fund of $20,800. Contract employees, William Dwayne, is currently paid from the court probation fund. So what is happening is they're not taking it from the general fund, they're taking it from their area, which is not in the general fund, and that adds up to a savings to this budget. And I thought that was really good, and it should be, the court should be recognized as something that is given back in an adjustment. And I always say, don't make excuses, make adjustments. And it seems like they have made an adjustment. As of yet, we have not received a recovery plan from the mayor. We're still looking for that, but that happens also when we get the figures. And hopefully, Anita and Tish from the auditor's office was saying that once they crunch the numbers, they would be hoping that we wouldn't have to make any more cuts. And I too, and this council too, is hoping the same thing. Also, Mr. Wheeler did not speak upon it because I don't think he knew about it, or he must have got it late. But we have a owner of buildings here in the city of East Cleveland, Mr. Lyons, who owns several of our buildings here, which was sold to him through Ted Litchko from the United Furniture. Most of those are in foreclosure. Not only are they in foreclosure, but one he owes $172,000 on, and we have had him approximately in court several times, 3 or 4 times if I'm not mistaken, and he has slipped through courts. But I'm talking to the law director and prosecutor and hoping that he will not slip through, because we have a building now that has no heat, no water, and these people have been without this heat and water for a couple of months. And as usual, again, we are in the newspaper for the fact that Channel 19 had to go up and check on this building. I was all over the place. So the law director is telling me that our inspectors did go up there and gave them a notice. So we're going to see what happens, and I'll get with her tomorrow and we'll be checking it out. And I'm sure that the chair of the safety committee will be on it diligently tomorrow. That is my report. Do we have any proclamations?
No
We have a legislation, resolution,
Number 0715, first reading, resolution granting conditional use permit pursuant to sections of the East Cleveland Codified Ordinances 1123.03 AA, 1123.AC, 1123.03 AP, 1123.03 AN, and 1123.03B to the Salvation Army to operate a community center, building, a center of assembly, worship, recreation, and education in a U1 or U2 district of the Salvation Army Corps Community Center, 1570 Doane Avenue, 1604 Doane Avenue, and 1644 Doane Avenue.
let the record reflect that our learned colleague, Counselor Mansell Baker, has entered the room and is seated.
At
7:03.
This is the first reading for this resolution, and the sponsor of this resolution is Mr. Mansell Baker himself. This is the first reading, Mr.
Discussion.
Okay.
Did we fix all of the required information?
I spoke to Mr. Marvelous and he said that the variance had been granted by the BZA at its appropriate meetings and everything was in order.
Mr. Baker, since the law director has given her statement and opinion here, my request from the law director is that she give us a formal written opinion before the next council, where it will be on the second reading. I thought I'd bring you up to speed.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask her. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you. Just want to hear from they already
There was no presentation.
they already talked.
They haven't talked.
Can I hear from them since they drove?
I had no, no,
Just want to say anything.
pardon me.
I'm asking.
You asked me first, what was I going to
That's
do?
my pleasure.
Okay.
It's my sponsor.
I have no, can I respond to what you asked me? Is there any presentation or any words from the Salvation Army that would like to be spoken?
I apologize for any confusion. We didn't know that we were supposed to make a presentation.
No,
That's
no, I just
where
wanted to
you
hear
were.
more.
Basically, what the Salvation Army is hoping that we can do, we are undergoing a strategic plan for all of Greater Cleveland. And part of that plan, we hope, is that the Salvation Army can come into East Cleveland and be a supportive service to East Cleveland. The center we're proposing to build in East Cleveland, which is on the corner of Doane and Hayden, would be a 30,000 square foot building, maybe a little smaller than that. They would have a worship center in it, it would have community center, a learning center in it, and possibly a spray park attached. That's the plan right now. And so we're just hoping that the council and the city will welcome the Salvation Army into its neighborhood.
At the onset, I think those things were in the presentation when you first made it, and that was what was affiliated with the brochure. I think that somewhere along the line, the process, as usual in East Cleveland, began to go around in a circle, and we have come to the beginning. And I think that from looking at the brochure and matter of fact, I have the brochure, and Ms. Kyle, who is the assistant to the mayor, had, when you first came in, had brought us in and talked about it. And we had a long conversation on what it was all about. So now we just have to get through the formalities and get on with the business of getting through with the business.
Right.
Okay.
We certainly want to make sure that all of the due diligence
That's right.
has taken place and that we're following proper procedures so that we can be a good community partner.
I think that's what we all want, and because sometimes we fall short, and then you have to go back and redo things, so we don't want to have to do that. And as my learned colleague, Mr. Martin said, we want to welcome you here, and I sit on the Ohio Retirement, not on the Ohio Retirement, but the Ohio Homeless Shelter Board. And so does the Salvation, someone from the Salvation Army sit there. So I'm well aware of what the good things that you do for many, many years. So hopefully that will transpire here and resonate all over the city of East Cleveland. Is there anything else that the gentleman would like to say? Thank you.
I have one question that I'd like to ask to you guys. Assuming that we'll take care of this in 2 weeks, which it probably will be, when do you anticipate the groundbreaking?
That is still in discussion right now. This project, as well as all the projects, are contingent upon a lot of things. It's contingent upon our fundraising. It's contingent upon Salvation Army approval at our territorial headquarters, which is in New York. If everything stays on schedule, it'll be within the year.
Thank you very much, and as my colleague said, you came a long way, and it's cold, and I appreciate that fact, because it was cold for me just to come down from there, off to you.
We're more than happy. We want to do what is right for East Cleveland, and we want to abide by your guidance.
Okay, thank you very much, I appreciate it. Remarks and requests of the public again, and this is on any item.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
All right.
The
all
mic's-
right.
mic's not on.
Picnic.
Mike's not on.
Okay, Reverend Pamela Pinkney Butts, and I'm glad to see you all this evening. I came a long way to see you all this evening.
You
I left
don't
RCA
worry
meeting.
about that.
Okay,
That's
I left
not on.
RCA community meeting to come here. I want to ask, when I hear of this resolution, I'm going to talk about this first. That's my first concern, since it's on the table now and the party is still present. When I hear of salvation and I hear of army, I think of the salvation of the people, because I am a preacher of Jesus Christ, born, living, died, and resurrected. And I hear that you're, and I hear of the breastplate of righteousness and the helmet of salvation. And my concern to all of you council members and everyone here is that we have plenty of places to worship in East Cleveland already, and there's great desolation. I would like to know how the Salvation Army is going to come to East Cleveland and work with the churches that are already here to bring this community to life. And I'd like to know who and what is going to be worshiped. Because God has been Ichabod on this nation, because so much compromise has taken place and sin is the order of the day. I'm a preacher of the gospel of peace, but I also acknowledge sin that has overtaken us. And I want to see, and I'd like to know, you know, I could be working on a project to build a building myself, because I'm a pastor, I'm a fivefold minister. But we have so many churches and so many places that people call places of worship. But I look at the compromise that has taken place over this city and the surrounding ones. And I do not want the Salvation Army or anybody else to come in here and try to force a merger between Cleveland and East Cleveland, try to force the people in East Cleveland to do something that's against not only the will of God, but against the will of the people. I want them to meet the people where the people are. We don't need anybody else to come in here and cause any more division in the city of East Cleveland. So I would just hearken unto you and say unto you that a house divided doesn't stand, and I want the Salvation Army to take into account having something open for a place of worship and a place of prayer and a place of refuge 24 hours a day, and work with the churches that are already here, to help these people. We have so many social organizations, but people still don't feel safe. And I do not want any other entity to come in here, and these people are afraid that they're going to be incarcerated from going to them. And when people are operating out of something that's unusual, We have apostles, prophets, prophetesses, evangelists, pastors, and teachers that function in the church. I want us to be able to use that gift in this community. And that's my concern with the Salvation Army. I went to the RTA board meeting this morning, and they postponed closing Public Square on the 24th of this month. Councilwoman Thomas, Council President Thomas, you've known me since before I knew who I was.
That's true.
And I know the Wheeler family as well. I'm just meeting Councilman Martin and some of you other individuals in this room. I remember sitting at my desk in Randallwood.
You're about to close it out.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I remember sitting at my desk in Randallwood Middle School and just contemplating wanting peace. I'm concerned with RTA and some of the changes that are being taken and made, that some things are still not properly being addressed. I was doing some research and I discovered something called a Ghost Amendment of 1860 and 1861. And what it is the pro-slavery amendment. And it's a Republican put this amendment in place so that slavery could not be abolished because they were selling slaves on Public Square. And I'm concerned because I feel like there's another agenda in place through our transportation system. And I'm really bothered because although you all gather in 2 or 3 people, 5